Hey, Craig here, Diggs Rod Shop, and I'm down here in the studio. Remember the other day when I was up in the office and I was getting ready to give you a tour, and I had that t-shirt in my hand and I said I'm going to make me a t-shirt cannon so I can just pop off some t-shirts down at the Eddyville Raceway Park, which this weekend, I'm telling you, is going to be a great weekend. I'll add that in a little bit later. With that said, follow me. I'm going to start cutting some pieces, getting them ready over off my chop saw there, getting them lined up here, and then I'll give you a step-by-step of how I make this cannon. So follow me. I'm going to start with this 3-inch piece right here. And I'm thinking, from the videos that I've watched, this should be about 2 feet long. And that's if it was 2-inch. And so I think what I'm going to do is just go with 16, because I think that's going to be plenty. And I'm going to build 3 of these, by the way, so there we go. Matter of fact, get my handy dandy little black marker right here. Make my 16-inch mark right there. I'm a car builder though, so not a plumber, so stay with me on this thing. Okay, there's those 3 pieces. Let me get these over here on the table. The 2-inch I know has to be at least 2 feet long if you want some distance. I'm going to go ahead and do 48 right there and 72 right there. That'll be about as easy as it goes. There's my 3-inch 2s. No, my 2-inch 3s. My 2-inch 2-footers. Now the 1-inch, I don't need them that long. I think 6 inches is going to be plenty. Let me flip this thing around. Outtake. 6, and I need 2 for each one of them. So let's just keep going here. Means I'm doing 3. Set that right there. Now that I've got everything cut to length as far as my air chamber where I'm going to compress the air, I'm going to also have a barrel that's 2 feet long. I'm going to kind of lay it out here and show you guys how I'm going to put this thing together. So follow along. Matter of fact, I'm going to build 3 of these. I'm going to build one of them today and I'll build the other 2 a little bit later. However, I mean, things have to have 3 of them. I mean, you got to have 3, right? Okay. So here's my air chamber. This is what I'm going to compress the air in. What I'm going to do at the back end of it is I'm going to put this cap on the end of it. You guys can see I've got the glue and the cement here, and I will get all that together. One of the things I want on it is a relief valve. So there's an old Schrader valve right there that you'd put like in a radiator or a hot rod shop. So we've got one of these just laying around. With that said, I'll probably put that on the bottom so I can let the air out. The other thing I want is I want a gauge on this, because even though this Cellcore, this Schedule 40, I think it can handle like 300 psi. I'm only going to run it at about 100, 120. I'll gauge that when I get down to the Eddyville Raceway track to figure out, how much air pressure I'm going to do. But I want to gauge on it just so I can kind of be safe somewhat. With that said, The other thing that I'm going to put on this thing is, or my trigger mechanism, is this brass valve right there. That thing ought to just last forever. I'm going to put that on there, and then you've got yourself a valve stem right here that I'm going to put on the back end of it, and that's how I'm going to fill this. So I'll put the air in here, I'll see it on the gauge, and when I want to release it, instead of using the valve, I'll just hit the Schrader valve, and that'll let the air out of it. Kind of keep it safe. With that said, so there's the back side of this right here. So the front side of this is going to come around, and that's going to reduce that down to 1.5 inches. Now I wanted to go down to inch, but they didn't make one that went down to inch, so I have to use a bushing. So there's the bushing. The bushing is going to come down, and then it's going to go ahead, and I'm going to get to my 1 inch. Then my 1 inch, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get that right there on the fitting, that male fitting right there. Then my trigger mechanism. There's my trigger mechanism. On the other side of this thing, I'm going to put one of those male PVCs, and then I'm going to have my other inch PVC right there. And then last but not least, I've got to get to 2 inch, and I'm going to do that by way of putting another one of those bushings in there and get to my 2 inch. Poof, that cannon is going to be almost 6 feet long. Ought to get some distance out of it. So follow along here while I go ahead and start drilling and tapping and gluing this thing together. One of the first things that I'm going to do is every one of these that's a 1/4 inch pipe thread. My relief valve, or the Schrader valve, my gauge, and so is my valve stem right there. They're all 1/4 inch. So I've got my drill bit here, which is 7/16 drill bit, and I also have my tap here, and I will tap that also. So let's just kind of get started. I think what I'm going to do, let me grab a block of wood. I'm going to grab more than a block of wood so that I can drill through with that thing. Better have a drill. Now that I got my drill here with my drill bit in it, you can see on the back side of this right here, I've got this little nubby. So I think what I'm going to do is I can find the center in here pretty easy. And I can go ahead and tap that hole, and that gets me about center of where I want that one to be. With that said, I think I'm going to go ahead and drill it just a little bit more with this one. Bigger bit. There we go. And then with the final one, go ahead and turn that over with the half. Okay, so now you can see that I've got that 7/16 hole in that. Let me set that off to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and tap that. I'll use my trusty snap-on crescent wrench. Nice thing about that is it's tapered, and it just kind of sets itself for the tap. And you can see I'm going forward, and then I'm backing it out just a little bit so I get a nice cut. There's a little bit of tap oil on the tap already. I didn't show you that. All right, pop that out of there. We're just going to test fit that. So that's the air valve stem, just like you'd have like on your tire or wheel on your car that you can put air in. And you can see right there, that's where that's going to go, right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this cap on my back chamber, or this 3-inch piece right here. And then I might as well just go ahead and put the front side on it too. So let's go ahead and get that done. You're going to want some PVC cleaner, and you're going to want some PVC cement. There's my cleaner right there. There's the cement. I got that at my local store right there. So let's go ahead and just get this cleaned up. Not only that, but you're going to want to clean this end also. Try not to get any of that on you, that's for sure. Kind of smells good though. Guy could kind of get in trouble for doing that, I suppose. I know what you're all thinking. Craig's over there huffing glue. No, I'm not. All right, let me put the cap back on that right there. Let that dry just a little bit. That looks like that's fairly dry. That's dry right there. Going to get my cement going right here. Now, one thing I will tell you guys, you're going to want them when you push that on there, you're going to want to lock that on too. So push that on and turn it a little bit while you install. Here's the glue. I'm going to go ahead and set that right there. Go ahead and glue this piece too. And like I said, you're going to want to twist that and just hold that for about 30 seconds. That ought to do it. That looks pretty good right there. Maybe 15 seconds. All right, same thing here. Make sure you get that good and coated. Good and coated right there. And again, make sure when you push that on, just kind of twist that in place and just kind of hold it for a little bit. Think about your next move. This is going to be so cool. I am not kidding you. Literally, I've got some discontinued shirts. I'm not going to order them anymore. I've got some Ford shirts. I've also got that silver truck doing a burnout on my shirts too. I'm not going to order any more of those. So when they run out, I'm just not going to order anymore. With that said, what better way to run out than to give them away? So, all right, there's that right there. Now, I think I'm going to set this aside because I'm getting ready to drill on it. I just want to wait just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get the Teflon tape on these two pieces here. Maybe. Let's think about that for a second. Nope. I'm going to go ahead and do these right here. Let's go ahead and get these done too. All right, those two pieces ready to go there. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is bring this one back in here now. And let that glue just not get me there. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead, and so that's the end of it right there. I'm not too worried about that one right there. I think I'm going to want to see right here. This is probably where that gauge ought to go right there. Here or here or here. I kind of like that right there. That settles it. It's going right there. Runaway drill bit. Alrighty. Get the old tap out here. Get that started in there. Nice and straight. Clean those threads up just a little bit. I think one of the critical things that we have to do here is make sure we get some good Teflon tape on this thing too. There we go. Okay, so that's where we're going to put that gauge. We're going to put that on the end, and I suppose this out the bottom right here so that we can drain this thing as we need. So I would say get my runaway drill bit here. So we police up the work area here just a little bit. There we go. Okay, there we go. Bingo. All right. So I think what's going to be important now is we go ahead and get some Teflon tape on this, and Blue Monster PTF or PTFE tape right there. Let's get that straight. And you want to use a good tape, I will tell you that. Let's do this back one. So if I'm going to righty-tighty right there, I'm going to make sure that my thread tape goes counterclockwise, or clockwise, I'm sorry. I should tell you that correctly. The reason why I say that, and you want plenty of that on there, is because you want the thread and the threads to kind of coincide with each other. Let's see here, where's the old crescent wrench? Right there. Just nice and snug, that's perfect right there. Like I said, you want to get plenty of this tape on there. You're threading into this thing and you're putting it about 120 psi, so. That's some good stuff right there. Okay, like I said, that's going to probably come out the side with that gauge, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the bottom. You can see that thing's going to be so cool, especially if it gets any moisture in there. Bingo, right there. All right, last but not least, let me get that cleaned up. Oh, I'm feeling the pain. What'd he say?
Despise that tape.
He says he despises the tape. Yeah, once you get it started, though, you're pretty good. I don't understand what your problem is with the tape.
It's me.
Have you ever got that cheap stuff? You know, the imported from overseas?
The white stuff.
Yeah, the white stuff, it's nasty. Well, not all white stuff. Alan has some of it in his drawer that's really, really a nice Teflon tape. This blue stuff is probably the best of the best if you ask a plumber. Well, Monster tape is probably what you're going to be using. Ooh. This almost looks professional. I am going to make 2 more of them. So you might find them in my e-commerce site. I don't know. Use at your own discretion. That's what I would tell you.
Send it with a potato attachment.
Well, I think all we have to do is file the tip of that 2-inch, and I think we could put a potato in her. That's for sure. Ooh-wee. Check that out. Isn't that real nice, Clark? Real nice. Okay, let's get this set off to the side here. Next thing that we're going to want to do, let me set that off to the side. Let's see. Do we go ahead and put that in there and tie that? Nope. Let's do it this way. Let's go ahead and get the Teflon tape back out here. That's what we're going to need. This will be a little bit easier. Maybe. You guys are out there watching me going, somebody get that tape away from him. Okay, big question is, that's open, that's close. So, boof, that's send it. Boof, that's the way it's going to have to be. Ooh, boy, let me tell you what, we're going to need a big old crescent wrench. I'll be right back. That's a big old crescent wrench right there. I was down in Oklahoma here a few weeks ago at the truck gathering, and I got with the old tool guy. Bought me new channel locks. There we go. That's feeling pretty good. Bingo. All right, let's do the other side. Actually, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and get that on there. What do you say? Cleaner primer. And the glue. Let's get ready. Right there. That's pretty good. Bingo. Send it. Ooh, I felt a little bit of air compression in there. All right, there's that part right there. I'm gonna have to have a sling. That thing's starting to get heavy. All right, let's go ahead and let's get the glue on this one. That's not gonna matter right there. There we go. Beautiful. All right, I think that we can go ahead and put the Teflon on this now. That's pretty good right there. Well, I think the only thing I need on the tail end of this thing is my barrel. I think I do. Let's get that cleaned up. You know, that's one of the beauties of living in the USA right there. You can literally go down to your local hardware store and get all the fixings to make a cannon t-shirt lobber. How's that sound? Check it out, guys. Right there. There's only one way to test this thing. You're going to have to follow me down to the Eddyville Raceway Park. I would try it out here in the parking lot, but I need to know that it's going to make the bleachers. So I guess you're going to have to follow me to the Eddyville Raceway Park. So we got to come down here to the Eddyville Raceway Park and test them, because that's where I'm going to be shooting them off to the fans on Friday night and Saturday night. So follow me over here. I'll show you what I got going on. So I got my handy dandy snap-on air compressor right here. Now I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this yet, but this thing does a pretty good job. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to set this thing at about, let's do 80 PSI, okay? And we'll get this thing pumped up. And the cool thing about this is not only do I have the fill on the back, but I can release this on the bottom, take pressure off of it. But I did spend a little extra money, and I put the gauges on it so I can know exactly where they're at. So with that said, let's just take those off. And we're going to give this a try. So we've got the t-shirts right here. Now what I've done is I've got some in the long form, I've got them in the stubby form, and about the middle form. Let's see, there's a middle one right there. So depending on what size it is, we're trying to figure out what's going to work best. Right there, I don't need that one. How about that one? There we go. Let's just do it this way. Oh, look how fast that pumped up. So with that said, stay tuned here. I'm going to get this thing set up, and we're going to give this thing a launch into the stands. Okay, so I'm going to test them all. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the air compressor with me, one at a time. I'm going to grab a couple t-shirts, and we've got a GoPro up there, and I got a GoPro down there, and I'm going to go on the line, because that's literally where the fans have to see you. So follow me over to the line. All right, let's see. Let's grab this one, and this one, and this one. We're going to do 3. Here we go. Follow me. I think literally, if we just sat up about right here by the trash can, put those shirts right there. Oh, what's that suit out there? Okay. So with that said, what do we got in this thing? About 75, 80 PSI? Let me look. Ooh, that's why we have the gauge. Ooh. We got about 90 PSI. Okay, that's really good. Let's try 90 PSI in the long one right there. We should go straight up. Nah. So let's just picture some fans right out here. So, I want a t-shirt! I want a t-shirt! Okay, so let's see here. That didn't work. Let's do it again. It's like, I want a t-shirt! Loser! Can't build a cannon. All right, I'll fix that then, by guys. I'll tell you right there. Okay. Go big or stay home. 120 PSI. I wrapped that one. Oh, yeah. So I'm thinking we got to get a more bulkiness to it. More bulk. And then you can tell where the sleeves are, which are on this end. I know I got a t-shirt in there, but I'm going to try it. Oh, yeah. Okay. That probably would have worked on that 2-inch, but I cut them all down already and put a 3-inch on the end of it. So we're going to have to rewrap. 115 PSI. So I think I'm going to have to do something about an air compressor so I can just kind of pop that thing real fast. So, all right, there it is. I want a t-shirt!
Make sure you push it all down in there.
Don't look at it. Okay, she's there. Ready? I hit the snack shack. So that one works. Okay, let's try it again. Shooting for over there. I would imagine that landed on the roof. I hope it's not in the rain gutter. It fell off? Good deal. All right. Like I said, I'm going to have to come up with a way so I can get this like supercharged with air real fast. Just hit the hose on it, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. This works. It's not too bad, but if you get 3 cannons going, you're going to need something. I'm going to need like a portable air compressor, like gas powered. This is getting expensive. Got my marker with me, so I know it's working. We're going to call this an old number 1 right here. Old number 1's working. All right, drop my pen. All right. And see, technically, I could go ahead and throw the other one on the air compressor. So with that said, camera's down there. You ready? I guess it's up to me. Well, it was a little loose in the cannon. Loose cannon. It was a joke. All right, so let's just do this. What do you say? Oh. That's gonna work. What? Yep, we're gonna have to have that, that's for sure. See, what size of shirt is that? Probably makes a difference. That's a large. Now, I'll have all these wrapped long before I get here. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. I'd hate to get hit by that. Oh yeah. Okay, you ready? Here we go again. 120 PSI. That's gonna work pretty good. That's gonna work. I can hit that stand from here. So all right, one more time. Wait a minute, I'm out of t-shirts. Hey, Craig here, back at the shop. Well, you guys have seen the results of the, we're gonna call this the t-shirt launching, the pneumatic t-shirt launcher. How's that sound? With that said, you've seen the materials that I used to make it, you've seen me test with it, and you've seen the t-shirt. So I will show you this right here. That's about the size of the t-shirt right there. It has to be just a little snug, I would say, in the barrel right here. I can just slip it in, just like so. Yeah, I better get that out of there before I lose it. Anyway, with that said, you guys also seen I would say what you saw was good 150, 200 feet that I was ended up shooting that out of old number 1 right there. You can see we have number 2 and number 3. They both work too. With that said, this is Craig at Diggs Rod Shop. This is the pneumatic t-shirt launcher right here. We're going to have it down there on Friday night and Saturday night this weekend. I don't know, I got about 20 or 30 t-shirts to give away. And so be there here at Eddyville this weekend. Let's see, it's going to be what, May 23rd, I think is what it is. I should look at the calendar, shouldn't I? With that said, this Friday night and Saturday night, I'll have the cannons down there giving away t-shirts. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. We really appreciate it. We're like at 935 subscribers right now. We're about 65 away. So tell your friends, tell your family, you know, get the pets involved too if you have to. With that said, make sure you're following us and comment. If you like this, I'll do some more videos on it. This is Craig. We'll catch you on the shop. We're on the road.